In the Raccoon City Police Department, there is a main hall. A big, slightly too grand lobby with a marble floor, a domed ceiling, a statue that took you the better part of an hour to figure out, and a staircase that splits neatly in two directions. You know this room. By the halfway point of Resident Evil 2, you have walked through this room more times than you can count. You have killed every zombie in it. You have picked up every item. You have watched Leon or Claire stand under that dome, chest heaving, while the music carefully does not quite tell you it is safe. And then, the game asks you to go back. Not a new route, not a new puzzle, not a shiny new objective, just back. Back through the same door, past the same corpses, into the same hall you know like the back of your hand. The lights are still on, the statue hasn't moved, nothing has actually changed. And yet, every single time I walk back into that hall, my shoulders creep up towards my ears, my thumb hovers over the aim button, and I brace for something that never comes. I know it isn't coming. I have played this game enough times that I could probably recite the spawn points from memory. And still, that room never lets me stroll. Not once, not in 10 years. In any other genre, backtracking is a chore. It is the reason people write too much padding in the comments. It is the thing you complain about in the Steam review. Open world games try to hide it under minimap markers. RPGs dress it up as a side quest. Live service games just give you a teleport stone and let you get on with it. Backtracking is what happens when the devs would like you to admire the level design one more time before you leave. In horror games, it is something else entirely. Something stranger. Something louder than it has any right to be. And that is what we are going to be talking about today. Now, let me be clear up front, because I know someone in the comments will be typing already. Backtracking in horror is not inherently scary. It isn't a trick you can paste onto a non-horror game to make it spooky. What it is a delivery system. It is the pipe through which everything horror developers have been building for the entire first half of the game. The fight or flight, the persistent ebb and flow of anxiety, the slow and careful erosion of your confidence gets funneled back at you with twice the pressure it came in on. And there are cognitive reasons, real ones, why that pipe hits so much harder in horror than anywhere else. The first time you walk into any new space, your brain is busy. It is building what psychologists call a cognitive map, a mental floor plan that you use to navigate without consciously thinking about it. It is the same system that lets you walk to the bathroom in the dark without putting a toe through your bedroom door. The same system that lets you find the tea in your friend's kitchen after the third visit. Your hippocampus, tucked quietly in the back of your brain, is doing roughly the same job it did when our distant ancestors had to remember which cave the wolves lived in. In most games, this is a background process. You barely notice it happening. You build the map, you stop thinking about it, you move on. In horror games, the building of that map is the entire experience. Every corridor you walk down for the first time is being cataloged in high definition. The broken vending machine on the left, the locker that might be useful later, the corpse you weren't sure was going to get up. Your brain is filing all of it away, not because it wants to, but because it knows, on a very primal level, that you might need to come back through here with something awful behind you. And so it pays attention to details it would never bother with in a normal game. And then, eventually, you do come back, and the map you built so carefully gets put to the test. Here is the genuinely counterintuitive bit. Familiarity should make us feel safer. Known is supposed to be the opposite of unknown, and horror is supposed to thrive on the unknown, right? So when you walk back through a corridor you have already cleared, by all the logic in the world, you should be relaxing. The wolves are not in this cave, you checked. Except the feeling does not go away. And sometimes, honestly, it gets worse. There is something called uncertainty inflation, which is a fancy phrase meaning that our brains don't just track what we know, they track how much they can trust what we know. And horror games actively, deliberately, gleefully erode that trust. You cleared this room. you are sure you cleared this room. But you have also seen enemies respawn in a different game, at a different time, and the memory of that one time is still sitting in the back of your skull going, yeah, but what if it happens here too? You are not afraid of what is in the room, you are afraid of the possibility that your own memory is lying to you. And your own memory, I am afraid to say, has form. That is the first thing horror backtracking does. It does not challenge you to survive a room, it challenges you to trust yourself. One of the most underrated things horror games do with backtracking is leave the evidence of your first visit lying around. The corpses you didn't burn, the shell casings on the floor, the broken crate, the door you propped open, the item box you half emptied in a panic while your radio is screaming at you. These are not decorative details, these are psychological anchors, and they are doing real work. When you walk back through a room and see the mess you made there the first time, your brain does two things at the same time. It says, I survived this, which should feel good. And then it immediately says, I barely survived this, which absolutely does not. The evidence of your own success is indistinguishable from the evidence of your own near miss. Your nervous system cannot tell the two apart. The Resident Evil remake of the original understood this better than almost any game I can think of. The Crimson Heads are the crown jewel of this entire idea. You walk past a corpse you put down 40 minutes ago, and you know, because the game has trained you to know, that thing is a clock. It has a timer on it. It is going to get up. And every time you come back through that hallway, that corpse is either still there, slightly more dangerous than last time, or it is already gone, which means it is somewhere in the mansion and you missed your chance to burn it. Your own past actions become a source of fear. The evidence of your survival becomes the evidence of your upcoming consequence. That is an incredible trick to pull on a player, and it all happens because of backtracking. If you never had to come back through that corridor, the bodies would just be set dressing. Well played, Capcom. Again. Of course, the most obvious thing horror devs do with backtracking is change the rules underneath you. Silent Hill loves this one. You walk back into a corridor that was fine 20 minutes ago, and now there is fog where there wasn't fog. Or a door that used to be locked is open. Or a room that had a television in it now has a mirror. And you are very much aware that you do not want to be looking at that mirror right now, thank you very much. Resident Evil 2 pulls a version of this trick that has become a bit of a gold standard. You are moving through the RPD. You know your route. You are starting, maybe just starting, to feel emboldened by your own progress. And then the game drops Mr. X into your lap. And suddenly every single room you already cleared is a new room. This is what psychologists call schema disruption. It is what happens when your mental model of how something works gets suddenly challenged, and it feels much worse when it is attached to a space you already know. Your brain had a model for how the RPD works, which rooms are safe, which hallways are clear, where you can catch your breath. The game nukes the model, and the emotional response is much stronger than if a new enemy had simply appeared in a new area, because now you are being punished specifically for the map you built. The thing you did correctly is what made you vulnerable in the first place. All the little flags of self-efficacy you had planted in your own head, the ones that said, I understand this game, get ripped out at the same time. And you still have to backtrack. The objective is still on the other side of the building. You cannot avoid it. You have to walk through your own mental map while it burns. I remember the first time I ran into Mr. X at a corner, I had already walked around 3 times. I literally said, "Oh, come on," out loud. That is not a sound the brain makes when it is feeling clever. Save rooms deserve their own little moment here, because backtracking and save rooms have a relationship that most players do not notice until it is used against them. For most of a horror game, the save room is a reward. The music shifts, your heart rate drops, the item box is right there waiting, and you get to just exist for a minute without something actively wanting to chew on your face. But then, somewhere in the back half of the game, a clever developer will do something small and cruel. They will change the music. or they will remove the music entirely, or they will put a new item in a place where a new item was not there before. Or, worst of all, they will do absolutely nothing and leave you in a room that feels exactly like it used to feel, except for one tiny thing your subconscious has clocked, but your conscious brain hasn't processed yet. And you will find yourself standing in a save room, doing the save ritual you have done a dozen times already, unable to explain why you don't quite want to leave. That is not the room. The room is fine. That is your own expectation talking. You have learned this kind of game well enough to know that the devs love to turn familiar places into dangerous ones, so the second a familiar place feels even slightly off, your nervous system starts writing checks your brain hasn't cashed yet. The backtrack has poisoned the sanctuary without doing anything to the sanctuary itself. Alien Isolation does this one beautifully. If beautifully is the right word for a game that has made me actually yell at a CRT monitor in the dead of night.
You save at a terminal, and for the rest of your life, you will never trust a single save point again, because Alien Isolation taught you that a save terminal is a place where the alien might just happen to be passing through at exactly the wrong moment. The safe room becomes the unsafe room, and it got there by being a safe room for a bit too long. Now, I want to zoom out for a second, because I think this all points at something genuinely interesting about what horror as a genre is actually doing. Most games want you to get better at them. Most games reward your accumulated knowledge. You memorize the map, you learn the builds, you get stronger, you win, you feel the dopamine, you tell your friend about it. Horror games want you to get better at them, and then they want to take that knowledge and use it against you. The skill they are training you in is not really shooting or dodging or puzzle solving. Not really. The skill they are training you in is the management of your own anxiety in the presence of a map you already know. And backtracking is the purest test of that skill. It is the room you already survived. The question is not whether you can beat what is in there. The question is whether you can walk into it without flinching. Most of us cannot. I certainly cannot. I have walked back into that RPD main hall so many times I could draw it from memory with my eyes closed, and I still flinch at the doorway every single time. I do not think that is bad game design. I think that is the whole thing. I think that is what horror developers are actually making when they are at their best. They are not making monsters. They are not making jump scares. They are not even making those big set-piece encounters with the very tall vampire lady and the very wet boss fights. They are making rooms you cannot walk back into without your shoulders going up towards your ears. And when they get it right, those rooms stay with you for years. I know I have only scratched the surface on this one, and I know for a fact there are dozens of brilliant examples I did not get to. I have almost certainly forgotten a fatal frame corridor that would have made this entire video. I have almost certainly overlooked an Outlast moment that fits this idea better than anything I picked. Please, tell me in the comments which hallways and rooms and save points you cannot walk back into without flinching. I especially want to hear about the ones that still get you on replays, years later, when you thought you were over it. Thank you so much for watching. You are the reason I get to do this. And I will see you on the next one.